On my 10th birthday night, I received one of the greatest gifts of my life. It might sound a bit exaggerated to you, but that's really how it was. The Pokémon Game Boy game would release in a month. My true love for video games. When I started playing, I immediately knew I would become addicted to it. And with good reason. In the years after, I became a video game adventurer. I wanted to play absolutely everything and never stop. I was caught in this spiral, this virtuous circle where every game made me want to discover another one. Even today, I'm absolutely certain that I owe this passion to Pokémon Blue version, because it's the very first game that really got to me. Like everyone, I grew up. Then comes that overwhelming urge to dive back into old memories and pull out my old cartridges, to spend a moment in pure nostalgia. And this time, I wanted to discover everything. Those different Easter eggs, those secrets, those glitches, absolutely everything. I wanted to complete the game fully and not miss anything I overlooked as a kid. So I visited several very old websites through the internet archives, aiming to uncover all the secrets from Pokémon Red and Blue. And that's how I came across a forum referring to those. The forum was very old. I couldn't open it outside of web archives because nowadays it simply doesn't exist anymore. On it, there were quite a few articles. Some mentioned the bug at Chromasil Coast with the dealer. To obtain Pokemon at level 100 or higher, people discussed various methods to get Missinno, the well-known glitch Pokemon from that generation. Some also mentioned the different glitches to visit Bugtown or to get Myuu fairly quickly in the game. Then the members slowly went off topic and eventually discussed something else. A lot of people on the forum were wondering about a rather popular character in the series. It was Professor Chen. I don't recall how the topic arose, but I remember reading that the vagueness surrounding the character's whole story raised a lot of questions for some people. Out of curiosity, I kept reading each of the posts that followed. At first, there were only theories about him. Kind of like fanfiction, to be honest, nothing really concrete, or anything simply unknown in Pokemon history. And then people started talking about a detail, about a battle that should have normally taken place in the game. A battle with Professor Oak. It was said to be one of the hardest in the game, so I wondered if it was possible to do some tricks to trigger this famous battle in the game. And Eureka! I found a full tutorial by following the members' messages. Of all the game's Easter eggs and glitches, this was the one I most wanted to try. Knowing that this fight hadn't been removed from the game made me feel like I was doing something new, something completely forbidden. So I picked up the game I had started earlier and got to work. The steps were simple. To start, I first had to create the bug on the right bank of Chromasil. The one that lets you trigger encounters with Pokemon at level 100 or higher. That depended on the username the player chose, but I had named mine Red. If I wanted to trigger a bug, to meet Professor Chen, I absolutely had to have a username containing the character MN in the 3rd, 5th or 7th position. So I had to make a new save file. I did it since I wasn't far in the game and typed the username MN, figuring it was the worst case. After finding the bug and experimenting, I was still determined to make another, more personal save file later. After choosing the username, I experienced something strange. It wasn't mentioned anywhere on any of the other forum threads. Professor Chen, instead of his usual, "Okay, your name is X," gave me something different. 3 dots of ellipsis. I thought I had encountered a rare bug, likely caused by the username choice. A bit doubtful at the time, I quickly moved on, so I continued with the next steps. To trigger the bug, I chose my rival's name, whom I named Blue, and I continued my adventure to trigger the bug. That goes without saying. It took me a long time to build a team. Continue playing until Chromasil is unlocked. It helped me relearn the mechanics and choose better Pokemon. My first playthrough wasn't as successful, so I was proud to see my new choices paying off. I was literally steamrolling every trainer who crossed my path. With Charizard on my team and Nidoking, the game was becoming a lot easier. In short, I could finally continue the steps of the glitch in peace. So I performed the dealer glitch. I had to avoid several trainers, use hidden machine fly with my Pokémon multiple times, and even battle a Ditto. Use the move Growl on it. Most importantly, I needed one of the top Pokémon to have 226 special attack. So I did everything I was told to do, in order and normally. The battle against the professor was supposed to start. After the pause menu activated by itself, I walked in the game, crossing my fingers that the pause menu would activate. With a smile on my face, I was ready to find out what team he had. I had purposely avoided looking it up to keep the surprise. But instead of the pause menu, which was supposed to pop up out of nowhere, I got a black screen and the music started glitching. At first I was disappointed and thought I must have made a mistake in the steps. Annoyed, I was about to turn off the Game Boy when the screen suddenly went white. Then, a moment later, music started playing, music that I knew pretty well. Since it was the Elite Four's theme, I had no idea what was going on. At the same time, I scrolled through the forum pages, but no one mentioned any bug like the one I was experiencing. So I picked up my console again and carefully watched the new things that started appearing on the screen. Apparently, I was in Professor's laboratory. When I say I was, I mostly mean that I could see it. Because my character's sprite wasn't on the screen, in fact, there was only one person visible, Professor Shen. He was standing with his back turned in front of the 3 Pokeballs at the beginning, placed on a table. For a moment, there was nothing but him, silently looking at those 3 Pokeballs. Then, after a moment, a dialogue box appeared. I'll only read you the part that was legible. Because glitched, unidentifiable characters appeared between every word. The message said here, and here are 3 Pokémon. I realized then that I'd created a bug that reloaded the opening sequence. When CHEN offered us to choose between Squirtle, Charmander and Bulbasaur, I confirmed. And another message appeared. Chosen for blue, this will replace Attack Sora. The world of Pokémon is ruthless. I was almost glad to find this new dialogue, certain I'd never seen it in any previous playthroughs. Up until then, I had proof that a side story was still present in the game's data. I kept going, hoping to find more information. And then a new line of dialogue appeared. You gave it your all on this boat. That's how fights should work. The message was once again filled with unreadable characters. I had to spend a good minute deciphering the rest. But sometimes, on the way back, we wouldn't go through the center. Pokémon Blue will be happy to have this new ally. Since you were the one who chose it, maybe this one will live a little longer. I squinted my eyes and tried to reread the answer several times to make sure I understood it correctly. But obviously that was the case. My character Red, whose real name is the protagonist of Pokémon Red, Blue and Yellow, had apparently, during a battle, killed Blue's Raticate. Even worse, Professor OAK didn't seem to have anything to say about it. It's as if he was proud of what Red had accomplished. At that moment, I wanted to turn off the console. I didn't want to ruin my childhood over an abandoned script. I loved the way Pokémon had shaped my dreams. I loved Professor Oak, and I didn't want to see him as a horrible, heartless monster. But my curiosity got the better of my emotions, so I finally pressed A. After a few minutes of hesitation, the screen went black, and shrill sounds came out of the Game Boy's speakers. I lowered the volume and watched the flashes now appearing on the screen. It was as if the game was trying to find something to display, but it couldn't. After a moment struggling with the data, a new still image appeared. This time, it was a new dialogue box, but completely empty. I pressed A several times, and of course, that little distinctive sound confirmed I was moving to the next dialogue. But each time, an empty dialogue box appeared. So I kept going again and again, until finally, a first message appeared. Only his writings appeared on a white background. On this one was written, still scattered here and there with random characters. Children are the future of training. When I pressed A to see what happened next, the music from the very beginning of the game started playing. It was the one where Professor Shen appears to us for the first time. The next message said the Pokédex is already full. They mainly need to learn to fight and use Pokémon. The power plant must be supplied, or our world will collapse. The message that followed was written in Japanese, without any strange characters this time, so I took out my phone and used the camera to translate from Japanese to French. Since the message was approximate, I translated it as follows: Pokémon training, challenges, gyms. All of that must serve one purpose. As I was trying to understand, I confirmed again, and another message appeared. Just as I finished reading it, with my mouth half open, the screen suddenly turned off. The worst part of all this is that it wasn't a consequence of the glitch. The batteries in my console were simply dead. I was so frustrated and exasperated by this situation that I didn't want to touch the console again after that. But after a while of cursing myself, I turned it back on and realized I had to start all over again. I made sure my batteries were fully charged this time, and I did the glitch again, exactly the same way as before. Only, and unfortunately, everything happened exactly as it was supposed to happen. A Pokémon battle against Professor Shen. But nothing else, no dialogue, no new images, nothing. There was only this battle. If you're tempted to try out this glitch, I strongly encourage you to do so. I hope you'll be lucky enough to come across this famous bug like I did. I know you're wondering what Professor Shen's last message was, and if I didn't share it right away, it's only to warn you before I do. If, like me, you don't want to destroy the image you have of Pokémon, just forget everything I just told you, leave this video and move on. But if, on the other hand, you're curious and you want to know who Professor Shen really is, then I'll share with you the very last conversation I read. What the professor said was, "I don't care about the lives of Pokémon. Only humans matter."